Hi everyone and welcome to Page Style. My name is Patience. In today's video, we are going to be making this beautiful overlap A-line dress with a mesh ruffle hem and a balloon sleeve. Before we get started, kindly click the subscribe button. If you have done that, let's get into it. This is a soft, stretchy polka dot mesh fabric. I'll be using it on the sleeve and I'll also be using it for the ruffle on the hem of this dress. And this is a soft crepe fabric and it is 2.5 yards. The mesh fabric is 4 yards and I'll be drafting on this pattern paper. I've gone ahead to mark this line, which is my shoulder line. Right on the shoulder line, I'll mark half of my shoulder width, which is 8 inches. So I'll be adding ½ inch for ease. You don't have to do that. And I'll be adding ½ inch for sewing allowance, that is 9 inches. I'll be using 4 inches for the width of the neck. And on this 9 inches for the shoulder measurement, I'll come down by 1 inch. This way, and I'll connect it to the width of the neck. From this 1 inch, I'll mark my chest line, which is half of my armhole measurement, that is 8 inches. To get a straight line, I'll measure from the shoulder line, that is 9 inches. I'll mark the shoulder measurement on the chest line and I'll connect it this way, and I'll mark quarter of my bust circumference. Quarter of my bust circumference is 10.5 inches, so I'll be adding extra 1 inch for ease on this dress because it is not going to have a zip and it is a free dress. So I'll be attaching an elastic band on the waist of this dress, and as well you can use a belt for the dress. So I'll be adding 1 inch for ease, that is 11.5 inches, and I'll add 1 inch for side seam, that is 12.5 inches. To create my arm side, I'll mark the midpoint of this line, which is 4 inches, and for the back armhole I'll go in by ½ inch, and for the front armhole I'll go in by 3/4 inch. I'll connect each point to the tip of the shoulder this way, and I'll curve the arm side. For the back and the front, now for the depth of the neck, I'll be using 1.5 inches, that is for the back piece, and for the front piece I'll be using 7 inches. So if you don't want it too deep, the neck too deep, you can use 5 inches. And remember, the front is an overlap dress, so I'll be making a V-neck, like a V-neck this way for now. And I am going to mark my shoulder to waist point, which is 17 inches. I'll be adding ½ inch for sewing allowance, that is 17.5 inches. And I am going to mark quarter of my waist circumference. My waist circumference is 9 inches, that is quarter of my waist circumference. I'll be adding 1 inch for ease. Like I said, this dress is not going to have a zip. I'll be attaching an elastic band on the waist, and I'll also be making a belt for this dress. So I'll add extra 1 inch, that is 10, and 1 inch again for side seam, that is 11 inches. I'll be using this as a pattern to cut out the back piece. So I'll cut out the back neckline and the back armhole first, and after cutting it, I'll cut it out on my fabric before I cut out the overlap for the front piece. And I'll not forget to add ½ inch on the shoulder for sewing allowance. I'll be using this as a pattern to cut out the back piece first. After doing that, I'll extend the neckline for the overlap on the front piece. I've done that. I've cut it out on my fabric. I've cut out the back armhole and the back neckline. So this is the back piece, and now I am going to be extending the neckline for the overlap. So you want to make sure if you are cutting with your fabric that you iron the folded edge so that you will know the midpoint of your pattern or of your dress. So this is my midpoint. Right from the midpoint, I'll mark 5 inches this way, and I am going to extend the front neckline to the 5 inches this way, and I'll cut it out. So this is the front piece, and I'll be cutting out 2 pieces for this. I've done that. So this is my overlap for the front piece. So I've cut out the front and the back piece for the shoulder to the waist. Now I'll be cutting out the lower part of the dress. I've gone ahead to fold my fabric this way, and I've marked the waist line. The total length of this dress is going to be 53 inches. I used 17 inches for the shoulder to the waist, and now I am going to be marking 21 inches for this lower part of the dress. But as you can see here, I marked 25.5 inches, that is plus ½ inch for sewing allowance. So after marking these 25 inches and after making the dress, I noticed the dress was too long. I had to reduce it to 21 inches. I'll be cutting length 15 inches for the mesh, that is for the ruffle on the hem. So 17 inches plus 21 inches and 15 inches, that is 53 inches. I'll be marking the same 11 inches on the waist, that is 9 inches plus 1 inch for ease and 1 inch for sewing allowance, that is 11 inches. As you can see, I did not mark my waist to hip measurement because I'll be making this like an A line. So I'll be adding extra inches to the waist measurement on the length of this dress. So I marked 11 inches on the waist. I'll be adding extra 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That is 17 inches. So I'll mark 17 inches on the length and I'll connect it to the 11 inches. And I'll add ½ inch on the waist for sewing allowance. In order not to have a sharp edge this way, I am going to come up by 1 inch and then I'll make a curve this way and cut it out. So I'll be using this as a pattern to cut out the back piece. Like I said, this dress is not going to have a zipper, so I am going to be cutting it exactly for the back piece. I've done that. The next thing I'm going to do is to join the front and the back piece. I'll place the right sides this way, align it, and I'll sew on the ½ inch for the shoulder. I've done that. Now I am going to finish up the neckline with a bias tape. I'll start from this end and I'll sew all the way to this end. I've done that, and if you want the bias tape to show on the right side to give it another design, you can start sewing from the wrong side of the fabric. So the next thing I'm going to do is to align the overlap, pin it down using the back piece as a guide. I am going to first join by ½ inch to keep the overlap in place, and then I am going to join the front and the back piece, that's the side seam. Also on the lower part of the dress, I will I'll place good sides this way, and I'll sew on the 1 inch for side seam. I've joined the overlap to keep it in place, and I have also joined the side seam. I have also joined the side seam on the lower part of the dress. Now I'll be attaching the upper part of the dress. I am going to place the right sides this way, and I'll align the side seam and pin it down, and I'll sew round by 1/2 inch. I've done that. To cut out the ruffle on the hem using the mesh, I am going to measure what I have here. So this is 32 inches, and times 2 of 32 inches is 64 inches. To cut out the mesh for my ruffle, I am going to times the 64 inches by 4.5 inches. That will give me 288 inches. So the mesh is 4 yards, like I said. To get the 288 inches, I am going to cut out 15 inches length on the 4 yards, and I'll cut another 15 inches length on the 4 yards, and I will join it together. I've gone ahead to cut it out. So this is the 15 inches. I actually cut out 16 inches because I'll be using 1/2 inch to join to the dress and 1/2 inch for hemming allowance. So this is 16 inches by 4 yards and 16 inches by 4 yards. I am going to place the right sides this way, and I will join it by 1/4 inch. That way I'll have 16 inches by 8 yards. That is 288 inches. I am going to hem by 1/2 inch. I'll fold it and fold it again as tiny as possible. After doing that, I am going to use the longest stitch on my sewing machine to sew on 1/2 inch all through the 288 inches, and I will gather it for my ruffle, or if you have a gather foot, you can use your gather foot. I have done that, and I joined the edge by 1/4 inch, and after I gather it, I ensure it is up to 32 inches. That is times 2, 64 inches. So now I am going to be attaching it to the dress. I'll place the right sides this way. I am going to sew round by 1/2 inch. For the sleeve, I'll be making a balloon sleeve, so I'll be cutting out the sleeve very big. The length is 25 inches, so I marked 26 inches, so I'll be using 1 inch to hem the sleeve and as an elastic casing to attach my elastic band. And the width of the sleeve is, like, I will be cutting it big. Like I said, I'll be pleating the sleeve on the arm side. So this is 20 inches. I am going to use my sleeve to trace it out this way. As you can see, I just used my free hand to get the S shape, and I'm going to be pleating it on the arm side. I have joined the ruffle on the hem, and this is how it came out. So I have a detailed video on how to draft a basic sleeve. I'll put the link on the description box. Now I've gone ahead to sew the side seam on the sleeve. I sewed 1/4 inch on the side seam, and I've hemmed the sleeve. I left this like 1.5 inch opening. As you can see, that will pass my elastic band. Using a safety pin, I am going to pass the elastic band through this way. After doing that, I'll join the elastic band and sew back the opening. I have done that. I've sewed back the 1.5 inch opening I left and attached the band, and this is how it came out. Now I am going to be attaching the sleeve to the dress. Like I said, I'll be pleating the sleeve on the arm side. Now I am going to place the first, I notched the midpoint of the sleeve that is on the shoulder, and I am going to place the stitched part this way, the right sides together. I'll pin it down, and the midpoints that I notched, I am as well going to pin it down on the shoulder. I'm going to align it on the shoulder. So this is the amount of fabric I am going to be pleating on this part of the sleeve. So I'll start from like the midpoint. I'll sew straight on like 1/2 and 4 inches, and then I'll start pleating it till I get to the shoulder. And on the shoulder, I'll make sure I pleat more on the shoulder. So this is it. I sewed straight to like 1/2 inch, like 4 inches, and I started pleating to the shoulder. As you can see, I pleated more on the shoulder, and I did the same thing on the other side. So this is how beautiful it came out. Like I said, on the waist I'll be attaching an elastic band, so I will show you guys how to do that. Before I do that, I will be cutting out the belt for the dress. I have cut it out. You can times your waist circumference by 2.5 or 3. It depends on how long you want the belt. So I cut it out on fold, and I'll be using 2.5 inches, and I'll be sewing on the remaining 1/4 inch. Now I'll place the right sides this way, and if you like, you can make like a curve on the edge of the belt. You can mark like 4 inches and make a curve this way. I'll do that on both ends of the belt, and I will leave like 2 inches on the midpoint that I will use to bring it inside out. And after bringing it inside out, you want to iron it and sew back the 2 inches. Now to cut out the elastic band, I always use 1/2 of my waist circumference, that is 18 inches, and I'll add like 4 or 5 inches, and I am going to place the elastic band right on the waist line this way, starting from the side seam, and I'll lock the stitch, and I'll start to sew the elastic band on the waist right on the stitch. I'll, as you can see, expand the elastic and sew right on the stitch. The elastic band is going to give the waist its shape. You can wear it this way or use the belt. We have come to the end of this tutorial. If this was helpful, give this video a thumbs up, click on the subscribe button, and turn on the notification bell, and kindly share this video. Thank you everyone for watching. Bye.